It's been around since the beginning of NASCAR, and it's made legends and heroes of its drivers. Martinsville Speedway retains its mythos and special aura even to this day. So it's fitting that we'll wrap things up here tonight as we get ready to watch the final race of the Triple Crown in the Misfit Touring Series. And you'll see it all live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Scott Shive. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Scott, I always love when we get races coming here because there's just nothing else like it on the short track scene.
This is the original big time short track. We all know the short track game, all of that comes from local places. And while Martinsville is local, it's the big one that we all know and love. It has brought fans around to loving short tracks for decades and decades, and it always produces amazing racing, Joe.
They call it the paperclip. So we're, of course, going to take a closer look at this track and what it includes as we zoom down into Martinsville. It's a very short circuit at just over half a mile, but very shallow banking. In fact, you can see that they've got different surfaces as well in the corners, with that bottom line having that concrete. So it is very much driven almost like a road course, you could say. Many of the drivers often mention that the road course ringers tend to be good at this circuit. But this is, of course, the end of our Triple Crown as well as this entire season for the Misfit Touring Series. You can see we've had Slinger Speedway and Bristol for our previous two in the Triple Crown to decide, but we've had some fantastic and legendary short tracks. Five Flags, Hickory was in here, of course, the now defunct Rockingham Speedway. We went to places such as Kern, one of the newer tracks here on iRacing, way out in the west, the Bull Ring near Las Vegas. Went to places like Phoenix for slightly bigger tracks, but now It's just this half-miler left to go with 200 laps to decide our Triple Crown Championship. Let's talk a little bit about the car for anybody who hasn't tuned in quite yet. Scott, why don't you run us through some of the details?
Well, this late model stock, we know it well and we love it. 500 brake horsepower, naturally aspirated V8, rear wheel drive car, 4-wheel H pattern or 4-gear H pattern. This is a heavy car, 3,100 pounds, but man, this car is so much fun. We know it from the Cars late model stock tour, which has its first late model stock race tomorrow. They had practice today at Southern National Motorsport Park, another track here on iRacing. But Joe, we love this car. It produces amazing racing, and we know why these drivers love it and use it so much here on this series.
It has a lot of oomph underneath it, so you got to really wheel this thing, and we'll definitely see that today with these long straights and drivers having to get that throttle down and then have to slam on the brakes to get them woed up in time. Let's take a look at what the drivers are up against in terms of today's race format, though. We have 15-lap heat races. It looks like because of a little lack of attendance, we'll only have the one heat race most likely. And then it'll be off to the 200-lap feature with 21 cars at maximum. I don't believe we have that at 15. I'm currently seeing the count. So everybody should make it in. It'll be all down to deciding who starts where once we get there. Big stories, though. Track position is king here. You want to be up at the front. Passing is very difficult. And in that vein, you need a car that's very comfortable under braking into these sharp corners. So to make those passes, oftentimes you're going to need to be able to outbrake somebody. But you got to be smart about those pass attempts because, Scott, we've seen there are drivers that may try to send it in and it just all unravels in the blink of an eye.
It is hard to pass here. We know Martinsville, it is a paperclip type of racetrack. Those are tight corners, so we know that the bottom line is absolutely dominant here, Joe. And if you go for a pass under somebody and you're not confident in that pass or your car can't hold the brakes, then you might lose position to the guy charging behind you. So you definitely have to be careful and have confidence in making that pass and knowing that your car can do it, because if not, the guy behind you might be moving you out of the way to get around you on the bottom.
Well, looks like we're going to get ready to go here shortly as they're in the last moments of warm-up. Going to be off into the qualifying session here. And like we said, that's going to be such an important factor in this, where you start in this race. Granted, we will have the regrid, so the drivers will have to deal with a bit of that. And then if you don't qualify in the top group, you're off to the heats, where you got to hope you can stay out of trouble in that thing, just so that you don't wind up at the dead tail of the field, Scott.
Yeah, luckily today, normally we have it as if you're in that heat race, you might not make this race at all. But luckily today, we know with all of our guys, they will make the show, but they want to know definitely that they want to stay out of trouble because they still want to start as close to the front as they can if they're put in that heat race. Because again, we talk about it. Passing is difficult. We're going to talk about it all race long, Joe, just how difficult this track is and how to manage it. So those drivers that go to that heat race, if they don't make that top 5 or our top number to automatically qualify for the feature, they want to be careful in that heat race. And that heat race might also give them an idea of what the track might feel like today, just for a shorter run.
Well, looks like we've got qualifying starting with Casey Biotti being our first one in the number 45. We should see out there on track any moment now. And then we'll head through with each driver getting 2 laps to set their fastest time. What kind of track position will we see drivers wind up with here today? I think Casey is just now heading out onto the circuit. And he's trying to warm up those tires, considering they only have the one corner essentially down into 3 and 4, Scott. That's going to be tough to get it going.
It will be tough. They have to warm up these tires very quick. They've got 2 laps, and usually we see a lot of these guys. We saw it last week at Bristol. A lot of these guys will use that first lap as a good warm-up lap as they go around the track, and then really use their second lap as their fast time laps. We see them absolutely sideways through the track here, the number 45, trying to lay down a fast time here. Again, I imagine it might be just a warm-up, and the second lap is normally when they're going to put down their fast one. But Casey Beatte, he won back at Slinger, won our first Triple Crown race, as he put down a 19.188 there on his first lap. But he won at Slinger, and he's trying to win overall today for the Triple Crown, as he's going to put down another fast one, a 19.166. Don't know where that'll stack up right now, but that's pretty good as to what we saw in practice.
So up next going to be Jake Grout. He comes around and tries to see if he can top that 19.166. The laps go by quickly here. They get all the way up to 112 miles an hour by the end of these straightaways, and then it's all the way back down to about 70 miles an hour as he slides out of the last quarter. And that lap actually counted, which I thought he hit the wall, but I guess he just missed it.
Net code must have been there, must have saved Drake Grout just a little bit, put down a 19.398, not the lap that he's going to want. He's going to hope here that this second one is faster, but that's a little bit of security there for that 49. He's going to come down here to lay down hopefully a faster lap, and he does, a 19.255, a decent lap. Probably, again, not what Jake Grout wanted exactly, but a solid lap from Jake.
The number 57 of Alex Hallinar is up next. He's already on that first lap now, down into 1 and 2, trying to keep it as close to those curbs as he can get without touching them. They are a death knell in these cars, just about any car. You don't want to climb them. As he comes around 3 and 4, can he get to those low 19s?
He's going to hope that he can. He's going to put in a 19.561, hopefully a warm-up for the Hallinar machine, hoping for a faster lap here again. We saw in practice our fastest lap was set by the 15 of Deegan Smith. He put down a 19.10 on the dot, and so that's the benchmark to beat here. Right now it's Casey Beatte with a fast lap of 19.1, and Hallinar will put down a 19.4. So a bit of a slower lap for that 57.
First driver out there, and nobody's been able to go quicker quite yet, but we still have plenty of the field left to go. As Weissman up next, already down the backstretch on his first lap. Driver not as well known for his qualifying, but very good usually in the races themselves. The 74 crosses the timing line. He'll get a 19.8. That's a little slow for the first lap compared to some of the others. Maybe just saving his stuff here for the second one.
We saw Weissman absolutely dominating at Bristol last weekend. A late caution took him out of it with tire strategy and everything. But you're right, we don't see Weissman known as much for his qualifying, but known for his race prowess. And he's going to put down a 19.107, just faster than Casey Beatte. Well, he might be known for qualifying today here at Martinsville, because that's top of the boards right now, Joe.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I kind of wondered if with that slow first lap, if he was just managing the tires, getting them up to speed and getting them going. Rychecki up next. Jeremiah brings it down the backstretch, looking to hit his marks as he swings into the 12 degrees of banking down onto the concrete, tries to get on that throttle gently but firmly. He'll cross the line. 19.3 for his first lap. Mega first lap.
We're seeing Rychecki here just a little bit wide off of the corners here, and I imagine that's hurting his exit speed, slowing him down. He climbs the curbs. That's definitely going to slow him down here on this second lap. Will it be faster than the 19.3? No, it will not. The 19.356 will be his fastest.
Yeah, just a little bit too much of a clip there down to the inside, and that cost him. What about the man who has been just a dominator in the regular season? Jake Sylvia is out now. What kind of qualifying can he put down? Your marker now at a 19.108 by Michael Weissman, and it's less than a tenth of a second down to the next car behind him. So as he crosses the line, 19.092 on his first lap. Jake's flying.
Wow, he always is. We've seen him 6-time winner. He's going to call that. That's going to be his only lap he's going to put down. He's going to come straight into the pits, knows that he probably can't go faster than that, or he's satisfied with that, and I would be too. Jake Sylvia on the provisional pole.
I mean, if that's just him being satisfied, that's supreme confidence. It's not the biggest of margins. I wonder if he made a mistake coming back into 1 and 2 on that second lap and just decided to bail out of it because he wasn't going to make it back up. Bradley Stefane now has the unenviable task of trying to catch both Jake and Michael up there at the top of the field. This is going to be his first timed one as he swings through 3 and 4 down to the timing line in that blue number 89. It'll be a 19.3, decent first lap.
Can he go faster here? Bradley Stefan, we saw him miss last week at Bristol as he tags the wall. Will that do this lap in? Will he be able to make it, or will iRacing take it out because he made contact? Not sure, but Bradley Stefan, we saw him miss the race last week, and that put him down on our points. I think iRacing will negate that second lap for the contact with the wall, so that will give him a 19.3 as Bradley's fastest. But he's back this week and still trying to fight for that Triple Crown win.
Calabro on the number 91 up next. Just about half the field left to go here in this qualifying. He'll come around and get ready to set that first time. We've seen a lot of 19.3s to start it off lately. How about a 19.2 though from Dylan? That's good enough for fourth on his first attempt.
Well, he's going to want just a little bit more than that. Drivers are always hungry for just a little more than what they got the last time. He's going to roll in on the entry. Excellent hood camera right here. Lean on the exit through that Geico restart zone, coming across the line, and he'll put down a 2.49, just a little bit faster, 0.006 of a second, but that'll keep him fourth as of right now.
Yeah, it doesn't improve his position, unfortunately, but at least he saw a little bit out there. Sean Urich, newcomer here to the series, is up next in the number 97 as he gets ready to, is this actually completing his first lap already? He was out there quite quickly, if that's the case. Yes, it is. 19.134 into the 19.1s on his first time around. That's good enough for third.
Sean Urich, we've seen him finish twice at both of our Triple Crown races. Right now, he leads our point standings, hoping to get the win today and secure that Triple Crown. Right now, he sits third, but can he go any faster? No, he cannot. He will sit third as of right now with a 19.134, Sean Urich.
Might be a dog on his car, but it's not a dog of a car. It looks quick today, and he wheeled it in the race itself. The 133 of Waylon Robinson now whips by the crews down on the inside of the infield as he heads for the start-finish line himself. Car slides up on the exit as the light glints off his hood, and it's a 19.081 on his first lap. That lap right there is quicker than Jake Sylvia's.
Well, Jake Sylvia will be looking at that and saying, dang it, I wish I would have stayed out on that second lap if he didn't have trouble in 1 and 2, but a stellar lap from the 133 of Waylon Robinson puts him on provisional pole, as now we got the 1 of Tyler Muller out on track.
All right, up next, Tyler's been quick so far this season, but can he wrap it up well here today? He's been a challenge for guys like Sylvia at times. Will he be one today, or is he off his game? He looks like, I think he's trying to set up for the second lap. That was a very wide entry down into 3 and 4, so I don't expect this one to be quick. Indeed, a 19.6.
Well, he just swung it wide, Joe, like we see a lot of drivers do in some official qualifying sessions. They do that to gain more speed down the straightaway and carry that into 1 as Tyler Muller setting up for his second lap. And so cross the finish line here. I imagine it'll be faster, and it will. A 19.097, good enough to put him third.
Boy, the bar keeps just raising, and Deegan Smith is the next one. Deegan's had a bit of an up and down season out there as the number 15 brings it down the back stretch. Can he crack into those 19.1s or 19.0s? If you want to be within the top half of the field, that's what you pretty much need at this stage. He'll get a 19.3 on the first time around.
Look, Joe, if 2 wins and a top 3 finish in the championship is a up and down season, I'll gladly take an up down season any day long. Deegan Smith, we have seen him so strong out here in the Misfit Touring Series this year. Can he improve on his lap here in this Triple Crown? Yes, he can. A 19.19. That will put him nicely here on our boards.
Into 7th position after that one. Again, you want to be up towards the higher end of the field so that you don't have to take part in the heat race, go automatically to the feature. The 24 of Kyle Adams is up next. He's one of the drivers that helps organize this whole thing. Sometimes a very thankless job, but he's able to get out there and try to lap from time to time. As he crosses, it's a 19.403 for his first lap.
Just warming up here. Kyle Adams, I love him to death. He is so awesome. Always has this cool paint scheme. He introduced this around when we went to Kern at the beginning of the year, and it's always looked really good. Drifts it real wide there out of 4. I imagine that's going to slow him down. And yes, a 19.4 will be his fastest. So not what Kyle Adams wanted down in 12th, but he'll be in the heat race, and we know that he'll be able to fight to get a better position, but not what he wanted there.
This is Keegan Bush up next in the 27. Now, unfortunately, I see a black flag next to his name. Not sure what that's for. Hopefully it doesn't delete his qualifying laps here, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. We'll find out in a second as he crosses the line. Yeah, that lap got deleted. I'm afraid that means the 27 is probably going to be starting from the back.
Well, he might have his second lap here. I'm not sure if he'll be able to lay it down with some of that contact. We'll see if it'll count too. Just getting news that Kyle's footboard, his pedal board, slipped away from him on his iRacing setup. So that's why he put down that lap, had some issues there out of turn 4. And yes, you're right, Joe. Keegan Bush will not put down a time because of that.
That's got to be so frustrating. Coming from the back at Martinsville is never going to be a fun time. That means next up, and I believe the last of our qualifiers, will be Jared Schell in the 34. So he now knows where everybody else stands. What can he do to try and top that as he uses that outside line again to try and build momentum?
He'll try to have a fast one here. He builds momentum on the outside like you talked about down here in 1 and 2. He'll run the back stretch, and will he be able to improve on that time? Jared Schell, we saw him out of, whoa, goes really wide there on his entry into 3 and exit out of 4. That won't be the lap he wants, but he'll have a second go here.
Yeah, that was a 20.0, so a full second behind the others, as he has a bit of a connection problem, unfortunately. So not sure. This one might get deleted just because of, unfortunately, an inconsistent connection. Let's see. No, it counts, but it is a 19.8, which will be last on the field of drivers who've set a time.
Well, definitely not where Jared Schell wanted. He'll be put into that heat race for sure, but that gives all these drivers that didn't qualify automatically into the feature, this resets them. It gives them a new opportunity to start higher in the field for the feature, but it does mean that they have to survive that lapped heat race and not get wrecked out, because again, 15 short laps at Martinsville, these drivers know that those laps wind down quick and it can get quite aggressive.
So we go through our starting order in this 10-car race with Casey Beati starting on the pole. Deegan Smith will be in second place. Then it's Dylan Calabro starting P3, followed by Jake Grout to his outside. Bradley Stefane starts 5th, as Jeremiah Rychecki will be P6, and Kyle Adams 7th. To his outside, it'll be Alex Hallinar. We saw Jared Schell have a bit of a rough qualifying at the end there. He'll start 9th. And Keegan Bush has it all to do starting from the back.
It's going to be fast. It's going to be heated here in this heat race. I love making that pun. I think I've done it 4 times on here, and it never gets old for me personally. These guys, they are going to be fighting hard because, again, like I just said, Joe, these guys know that because of our number in the field today, they're all going to make the feature. But now they know, hey, I could either be starting 6th or I could be starting 15th. And that is a huge difference in the start of this race here, Joe.
It might be 200 laps. It might be a long one, but you want to be up at the front, even from the beginning, to avoid the chaos that Martinsville often does. Looks like we might have lost Kyle Adams here for the start of this race, as he has had some sort of technical issue out there. I've seen a couple others have a bit of blinking, but it looks like it has solidified. We always do 2 pace laps if it's under a mile in length, so the pace truck will dive in this time down at the end of the backstretch and release these 10 cars to decide where and how they will start that feature race later on. Remember, it's very short at only 10 laps. 9 going to take to the start of this one.
These guys, they're going to be fighting. And Casey Beatty starting up here on our pole for our heat race. Deegan Smith to his outside. 15 laps to determine where these guys will start. 6th through 15th position. What will they do?
Green flag is out. Oh, it's a very good start up around the outside for Deegan Smith, but he's on the outside. That's going to be tough here at Martinsville as the 45 of Beati on the inside will fend him off. They'll carry on 2 by 2 through most of the field down into 3.
We'll talk about it all day long. That we see Jeremiah Rychecki there get way in on the outside. Casey Beatty will take your lead. Deegan Smith trying to run the outside, but as we know here, Martinsville is a bottom dominant track. If you have that bottom, you're going to have the position. It just depends on if someone's going to want to try to use it up on your outside.
Kyle Adams does join in, but he's already a lap down, unfortunately. That's good news for Keegan Bush, who's eaten them up already. He's into 7th place. We're only 2 laps in.
Watching along here, Dylan Calabro sitting in 3rd, and then we've got guys in the back. A great fight with Alex Hallinar trying to move in on Jeremiah Rychecki for our back positions, trying to move up, trying to start well here in our feature race.
Right now, Beati still leading up ahead of Deegan Smith. Calabro sitting in 3rd. A little smack of the wall, unfortunately, for Jake Grout as we look back at that fight between Keegan Bush on the inside and Jared Shell around the outside. He's going to lose out with that just not being the desired line. You have to be on the bottom. And the bad news for him is Rychecki is going to deny him a chance to sneak down there.
Well, Jared Shell is having a major issue here on the outside. He just lost 3 positions to all those guys. Now we're looking back to our leader here coming to complete lap 5, starting lap 6. Casey Beati still leading from pole position.
This is exactly where he wants to be on this one, knowing that it'll start pretty well up the field. Ooh, little battle behind him, though. I think that's going to be between Stefane trying to hold off Grout, but Grout's got the inside through 3 and 4. He'll finish the job through 1 and 2.
Will Stefane try to put the crossover on him? Yes, he will. Stefane back to the inside, just has an inch of the nose, and Jake Grout knows it, has to go to the outside, tries to cut off Stefane. Stefane still has a nose down low, but he won't be able to be clear. Jake Grout takes the position away from Bradley Stefane.
All right, Grout willing to fight here today, that is for sure. Behind them, Keegan Bush now has clear air to try and run them down, but not many laps to do so. He's going to have to push hard. As up at the front, Smith starting to lay on the pressure. Look at him, less than a car length away from that 45.
He knows we're halfway through this thing. Deegan Smith knows that it is time to go. Will be no tire saving here in these last 7 laps. These guys know they have a short time to get this done, and so does Deegan Smith. He knows that he might have the faster car than Casey Beati, and he wants to show it. He wants to start as high as he can in that feature race, following the bumper, Casey Beati.
Interesting note, too, on all of this. Only one driver has gained positions this whole race. That's Keegan Bush. Because of his lack of qualifying that he put down, he's making good use of it. Otherwise, when we said track position is king, we weren't kidding. Nobody else has changed positions from their gridding.
I was wondering why my sheet still looked familiar from our start. I wondered if it was frozen, but that answers my question right there, Joe. And it proves our point, like we talked about, like we know about this track. It is so difficult to pass, and it's able... Drivers, what we saw earlier with Stefane and Grout, we saw that drivers are able to put that crossover back on. So if you don't block the guy behind you after you make that pass, you might allow him to get the crossover move back on you and lose that position right after you got it.
Stefane getting dangerously close to Grout once again. He may have been overtaken, but he wants to try and get back through and is very fast mid-corner, but unfortunately you can't really pass there.
When there's a car in front of you, sadly, you can't just drive right through them, because if you do, that'll give you an EOL penalty like we've seen in that series. So you've got to be careful with setting up your pass. You can't quite dump a guy, but you can move them. But rarely have I seen a guy move somebody without spinning them out, Joe.
Deegan Smith still staying close to the 45 of Beati, and they've got the white flag, 1 to go. Does he dare try and take the heat win away? And again, it's not as important as the feature race, but it will set your start position. He's close, but yeah, he's not going to try and throw things away right here. He'll stay in line. He knows his second place is good enough, but Casey Beati will take the win in the heat race. Smith second, Calabro third.
Well, I'm just reading that the 34 ran out of fuel there right at the end, and then we get to see the 49 and 89 of Bradley Stefane and Jake Grout having a little issue there. Park the 49, Michael Weissman says over the chat, so some difficulties there with the 49. Not sure what's going to go on there, but some tensions at the end of our heat race, Joe.
Obviously, drivers get a little bit hot under the collar. That is Jake Grout as well, and Weissman calling for that. So we know that Grout was definitely getting into it. So looks like the cars are actually already gridding up, I think, for our feature race. So we've got our 15 cars out there and good to go. So let's go through that starting order. Bradley Stefane is going to put this one on the pole position and start it from the top. Calabro will start from second, thanks to the regrid. Deegan Smith will begin from P3, and Casey Beati will start from fourth. From there, you get to Sean Urich, who will start from fifth place. Michael Weissman will begin from P6, and Tyler Mueller will start from seventh. Jake Sylvia all the way down in eighth because of that regrid. Waylon Robinson in ninth, and Jake Grout will round out your top 10 here, Scott.
Well, back to the rest of our grid. In row 6, we'll have Keegan Bush, and on his outside, that's 78 of Jeremiah Rychecki. In 13th, row 7, Alex Hallinar in the 57, and Kyle Adams to his outside in that 24. And rounding out your top 15 will be the 34 of Jared Schell. The big story today is, Joe, who's going to be our Triple Crown champion?
Well, coming into it, the points were leaning towards Sean Urich, but he's going to have to do some work from fifth to see if he can hold on to that lead over Beati, who certainly looks quick here today. Also, what are they fighting for? Well, the Triple Crown is going to be giving up Molly's Custom Silver, a custom belt buckle made by them, to the winner of this Triple Crown championship. And the drivers are going to be eagerly fighting on that one to see who can take home what is, I guess, quite literally the silverware.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Joe. You caught me so off guard with that one.
All right, well, let's get down to the racing in the meantime. Is Bradley Stefane going to be on the pole position for this 200-lap event? They come around to the front stretch waiting for the call from the flag stand, and there it is. Green flag is out, but up on the high side, much like last time, looks like the outside line is good off the start. Calabro going to try and fight for it. Car up to the outside. That's Michael Weissman, who I think got a bump as they started.
It looks like he had some sort of connection issue. He was blinking on my screen, but had an issue there on our restart. Now to the outside, and who knows where he is, but Dylan Calabro leads your race into the second lap.
Impressive. Not typical that you see that outside line get the better jump. Stefane kind of showing himself. He wants to snatch that back as Casey Beati already looking into third, gaining some positions over Deegan Smith.
Well, Deegan Smith right there riding along. He knows the speed of his car, but he also knows, these drivers now know we've got 200 laps, and these drivers know that they're going to have to be calm and stay calm and save their stuff, because as we know, we've talked about all day long that this is a bottom dominant track, and it's very easy. You get in hot on your brakes in every entry of your corner. 2 times a lap, you're slamming down in on those brakes. And you want to be really careful of wearing that right front out, because it's very easy to do, Joe.
And they have 3 total tire sets available to them for the race. You can't abuse it too much, and you definitely don't want to be making pit stops under green flag conditions. As Sean Urich looks like he's going to get overtaken by Muller, and the number 1 car moves up into 5th with that sneaky little inside move.
Well, again, you can make it on the outside. The 133, as we see, is on the inside of Sean Urich. We saw the Dylan Calabro made the outside work, but one thing I will say about that outside, if you're able to make it work like Calabro did earlier, is we've got a 3-wide situation here. Waylon Robinson, Jake Grout going at it on the inside of Sean Urich. Almost some trouble there. Jake Grout decided to back out. But again, if you want to use that outside, you can, but it's going to use up your stuff, Joe.
Well, Urich is going to abuse the tires a little bit here to try and get himself an opening as he just about gets into the side of Grout once again. Grout's not going to take any of that. He sends it deep down into turn 3 and 4 and out accelerating him off. The yo-yo goes back and forth between this pair to decide 7th.
Well, we know that Grout can be an aggressive driver, as we saw in the heat race. We also know that he is a good driver, so trying to take this position away from Urich. Sylvia gets loose right behind him, goes away for a spin, almost got into them, was able to back out, but that'll lose one of his positions now to Jeremiah Rychecki, but Jake Sylvia will slide back in line.
Absolutely monster save by that 88. Not sure if he's trying to save, and that's why he's dropped back here early on, but he's having to use it back up to get those positions. Battle for, was that second, it looks like, between Calabro and Biotti. Biotti to the inside of that number 91. He's going to be able to demote him, and in fact, here comes the freight train. The 91's got no place to go.
Bradley Stefane slips right through, takes the lead away from Calabro. Calabro slips back just a little bit, a few positions there. Deegan Smith still holding strong right there, running laps. And that's what we're going to see today, Joe. Who can stay consistent and stay out of trouble? We saw Calabro have an issue there. Casey Biotti, Stefane went right by him, but Deegan Smith running consistent laps, rolling right through past the trouble.
Calabro finally stopped the bleeding in 6th, so while the train tracks are on the outside of the backstretch here for a while, they were all around this circuit for him. He'll have to avoid that later on in the race. We're only 12 laps into this race. Make that 13 here as they cross the line shortly. We still have so much left in it. We watch from on board the New Englander as he now rides in line behind Robinson.
Well, we're seeing now, Joe, that some of these drivers, we've seen some chaos. We've seen some guys try knowing they're close, hungry for position, but now 15 laps in, these guys know they're trying to settle in, like we talked about. Try not to use up too much of what they got because they know they're going to need to stay. One guy not saving yet, that 49 of Jake Grout, diving in on the 91 of Calabro, trying to take 7th away.
Jake's certainly been inserting himself into all of this quite frequently. Will he regret it later on? He sits in that P7 behind Dylan, who somehow found an opening down through the field after his woes up on the high side, but not close enough, unfortunately. Dylan will retain that P6, at least for the time being. This is about the most single file racing we've seen all day long.
Well, now we'll see that, we're single file out here, Joe, and Bradley Stefane is now dictating the pace of this race. We talked about how it's hard to pass here, and that allows the leader to be able to dictate the pace of this race. He's up there, has the lead. He's trying to save tire, trying to maybe save just a little bit of fuel. It come into play here on his strategy today, because that's one thing we yet to talk about today, Joe. What's the strategy on fuel and tires?
Still have, it looks like, 11 drivers with this main group. From there it drops off. Alex Hallinar and Rychecki are kind of in a duo back there, and then Adams and Shell also farther back, but they're all on the lead lap is the good news. So nobody's gone a lap down, at least at this stage, but they don't want to lose too much more, because if we keep going green for very long, they could get swallowed up by the front of the field.
Well, definitely, and you want to be mindful of staying on the lead lap for sure. Right now, I think they're okay because it is early, but again, also, I think Bradley Stefane is up there saving, so I think he's not running to the full extent of his vehicle right now, and he's just hanging up there in the lead, saving what he's got. So right now, those guys that are in the back of our pack, like Kyle Adams, Jared Shell, Jeremiah Rychecki, right now, they're sitting okay.
So here's the other question, too. If we go green for very long, At what point does it make it worth it to try and take a gamble and come in and stop? Or do you just hold on for your dear life until we finally get a yellow?
You know, I don't think we can guarantee a yellow today. We've got a lower car field, 15 cars, and these guys, while some of them are definitely aggressive, we saw last week at Bristol, they were very calm. We only saw 2 cautions in the entirety of the race. We saw a 160 lap green flag run, and I think we'll probably hear something like that today as we've got some trouble, just as I talk about keeping them calm. But I think we're going to see a long green flag run today, Joe. So I think we're going to see tire strategy come into play for sure.
That was Hallinar in the 57 that we saw clip the wall out of turn 4. This time, though, up high, it was Rychecki who passed him before that went a little bit wide. A little bit of a hello from Hallinar behind him, but no change for position. Might see one for the lead, though. Down underneath Stefan, Biotti is on the attack. He's decided he's had enough of this follow the leader. He's got the inside away, so what's going to happen to the 45, or excuse me, the 89?
At 45, got a great run out of 2, was able to get just to the inside of Stefan, and that gave him the inside line, which we know is dominant. Now Stefan, what we haven't talked today, he needs to find a hole as quick as possible, because if not, cars are going to start training him on the inside, and he will go to the back very fast. Looks like he's found a hole. He will slide in, so he'll only fall to 3rd. But I didn't even think about that today, Joe. Once you get on that outside, you got to find the bottom as quick as you can.
It's looking like that is really not the place to be, at least in this stage of the race. Maybe that'll change later on, especially if we get some tire changes that kind of upset the apple cart. So back to single file we go once again. Biotti in the lead, Smith second. Stefan gets demoted down to 3rd. So he didn't lose too much. And he's still, I'd say, close enough that he's a factor.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's still early, Joe. We've got plenty of time. These drivers know Stefan was up there saving just a little bit. We saw him running just a little bit slowly. And I think Casey Biotti knew he was saving. He was like, you know, I've got enough speed. I can go around him. I can get a good run here. So, again, these drivers know it's early. They're playing it conservative, and they're just saving what they've got. As we see Jake Sylvia on the inside of Sean Urich, going for 8th position.
Ooh, and in the background, I believe that was Sean Urich slapping the wall, unfortunately, coming out of 2. That seemed to be a common theme. If you get pushed up to the outside and you're unwilling to give up a bit there, you're going to find yourself leaving a mark on the safer barrier.
Well, another thing I'm seeing here is we've seen a lot of marks left on the safer barrier like you're talking about, and I'm seeing a lot of guys, they're turning to the right just before the entry to the corner, just before they turn it back left. And that's something that we see out of a lot of dirt guys that are used to dirt. When they enter the corner in the dirt, as we'll get a replay of that happening to Sean Urich. He'll slide in here, Jake Sylvia on his inside, and he gets the wall here just out of turn 2. No real damage to the car, just a little bit of an issue, but Sean Urich should be okay. But we see guys turn to the right to set up the entry to the corner, and we see dirt guys do that as they set up the cars. We see Waylon Robinson, huge hit into the wall.
Another one that just keeps on coming out there. They can beat up these cars a little bit, and they seem to be handling it decently well. You don't want to do it too many times, or else you're going to use up your stuff in a different way. As we watch the 74 of Weissman stuck at the tail of the train, watching Keegan Bush in front of him. Keegan, who didn't even get a chance to qualify. Whoa, we got a car off. That's going to be our first yellow. I believe that was Jared Schell.
Not sure what happened there. I saw him blinking, and I'm not sure if his car disappeared. He had some connection issues that might have caused his issue, but we're going to see what happened. But our first caution of the day, Joe, this is going to change the game. We talked about it. 3 sets of tires. We're 33 laps in of 200. That leaves us 160 or so, a little more than that to go. Will drivers pit here, or will they stay out?
I feel like this is probably too early, because they do need to hold on to some of their sets, especially if we get those late cautions. And if I'm honest, I highly anticipate we're going to see some late cautions, and drivers have to manage what they've got left in pit lane, because I'm pretty certain it's going to be worth a lot. Yes, track position is king, But if you put some fresh rubber on, and if we've got some cars a lap down so that you're not having to fight from the very, very back, then you could find yourself pulling a trick over the entire rest of the competition.
I absolutely agree with you. I think as we go on, as we'll see a replay here of what happened to Jared Shell. He was running in the back, just entered a little bit fast into turn 3 and 4 there, got real loose, down on the apron. The field was coming to him, and as you see, his tail is on the bottom there, and as the field was coming to him, they had to be out of the way. Race control smartly through the caution, so wouldn't mess up any of the leaders there. But like you said, Joe, I think we will see drivers talking about pitting. I think we will see that over time we might see them coming, as we'll see the 74 of Michael Weissman getting down low, looking to the pits. We'll see some guys fake. Casey Biotti, top 3, top 4, all staying out on track. So that answers your question, Joe. They're all staying out.
Nobody pitted in, just too early on this one. Jared Shell also stayed out, but he was given the EOL. He is actually a lap down since the leaders came by him before they threw that caution. He's our first driver, unfortunately, to lose a lap in this feature. Does look like they've gone double file, so I think the lights are out.
Well, I think, again, like you said, I agree, though. I think as this race goes on, I think we'll stay calm right now. But I think as this race goes on, we will see cautions later, and I think that's why these drivers chose to save some tire here, because they know they're going to need it later on, but they know they need to save what they've got right now for sure, because it will get more hairy as we go on, Joe.
Green flag is out. Much better start for Biotti compared to what we saw in both the heat and the feature start. Outside line was given a challenge, but not this time. Deegan Smith fends off the one of Muller, who's also got Stefane to the inside in that blue machine. And also, watch out for Calabro. Remember, he lost a lot of spots. He's now trying to charge back forward.
Well, we know that he has a fast car. He got that lead into our second lap of this race, so we know that he has some speed. What I'm liking seeing, I saw Bradley Stefane give Tyler Muller just a little bit of room on the entry to 3, let him get down. And I love seeing that out of drivers knowing that it's early and giving guys just a little bit of space. I love seeing that. We've got Jake Sylvia now up to 5th position. So Jake Sylvia slowly moving up through this field.
You cannot count out that 88 every
Never.
single time. He seems to have something special in that car. Meanwhile, that was Weissman ducking down low, trying to get underneath Keegan Bush. Looks like he actually did manage to get past.
Well, great battles there. Michael Weissman, again, like we talked about, he did qualify well today, but he had that issue right immediately in the start of the race into turn 1. Put him in the back here, but he's trying to come through the field, and we saw him get past Keegan Bush, and he will set his sights next on that 78 of Rychecki.
Hopping on board with Stefane in 4th position. We see Muller.
Rychecki gets loose.
Looks like he's going to save it. He keeps going. He's still got Weissman underneath him back there. There you can see them coming out of turn 4. I think Weissman might have this job done.
Well, he has the inside, and again, like we know, that inside line is the one you want to be in. He'll take the position from Rychecki that moves Michael Weissman into our top 10 for the second time today after the first corner.
Back to single file we go once again. Drivers trying to hold on to those tires. Remember, these are all the same set since the beginning of this race, although Hallinar made a visit to pit lane. Did we see if he took 2 tires? Because it was about 20 seconds there.
I'm not sure. I don't know if he did. I would imagine that he did if he came down to fix his car because it was under caution. So I imagine that Hallinar, if at all, he might be the only one out there with some fresh tires.
I checked, and no, he did not take tires. So he is still out on the same tires as everybody else, but he also didn't take his free repair. So he had a little bit of damage, not enough for him to give that one up quite yet, as Kyle Adams now moves himself into 13th, getting off the tail end of the field. Look at this fight, though. 2 pairs. That's Urich and Weissman, and Rychecki and Bush sending it in down into turn 3. Weissman has not taken no for an answer from anybody today.
Weissman trying to go for 9th position. Sean Urich, again, our points leader as we got Jared Shell spun on the bottom again. Will that bring out a caution or will they all go by? We're still green right now. That checkup caused we do have a caution.
So problems for Jared Shell. And yeah, he's just having a miserable time out there today, unfortunately. So we'll see if he gets put to the back. Well, he is already in the back, actually, now, I should say. The EOL won't really do much for him on that one. He's now 2 laps down. Hallinar also in pit lane. I'm not sure what the reason. Hallinar actually drove it into the garage, which doesn't actually do anything. So he's just now going to be going laps down, and the car's not going to be worked on. So not sure why the 57 is elected to do that.
Wonder if he had some setup issues, connection issues, that we really could figure out anything of what happened. And we're going to see what happened here to the 34 of Jared Shell. I'm wondering if it was the same thing as it was earlier. And yes, indeed it was. And we see that blinking. We see him disappear on track like that. And that's an internet issue, folks. So I wonder if Jared Shell, if he continues to have internet issues, if race control will have an issue with that. But right now, he's still okay. Same thing that brings out our second caution of the day.
As for the Triple Crown, right now, Biotti still is in the lead, so that's an easy one on that one. He's in a good position. The real question is, what is this doing for Urich, who's down in 10th? I think, okay, so yeah, I believe there's a 2-point difference between them. So that means that Biotti would probably take over the Triple Crown Championship if it finishes as it is right now. There's the 57 I mentioned. That's where NASCAR has their garages and works on the cars. And while that works in real life, here in the sim, they don't, nothing happens. You need to go to your pit stall to get the car worked on.
Alex Hallinar in the chat, he said 57 out, vibration. So he had some issues with his car, and he's decided to take himself out of it. Usually
that would mean a flat spot on a tire or something weird going on mechanically. And this one, that's probably something to do with his wheel on his rig not doing what it needs to do. So yeah, I kind of don't blame him. That's got to be really not fun having to deal with that all race long at a track where you need the car to be very comfortable, especially in and out of corners. Here we go. Off again as Muller and Biotti will start on the front row. Casey's really been getting good starts here. What's going to happen when he's alongside Tyler in that number 1 machine? Waiting for the call, and there it is. Green flag is out. Almost even between them, but just slightly better for Casey. Down into turn 1. Thankfully, there's an opening for the 1. He'll get inside. First time for the front row for Muller. He'll take second position on the back bumper of Casey Biotti, but Biotti will hold it into 3 and 4 here as we've got side-by-side racing back of the pack. Jake Sylvia up to 4th around Bradley Stefane. One by one, he just keeps picking them off as behind them. We got a wreck. Oh. Yep, so Calabro in it. I thought I saw a couple other cars maybe potentially. I think he got some help from Robinson. And then a few just kind of piled in, including Michael Weissman, who looked so fast initially in qualifying. Well, we had some great camera work there from our producer, Daniel. We got to see it all happen live. I'm not sure. I think it might have been the 133 of Waylon Robinson. He was trying to set up a pass on the inside of Calabro, just sending it in just a little bit too deep, as we're going to get a replay to see what truly happened on our second lap here. Yes, it was the 133. He tried to go for the inside, ducked out last minute and wasn't able to slow up the car in time, got right into the rear of that 91. I feel like that's a really good illustration of one of the talking points we were discussing as the stories of the race, making smart moves into the corners if you're going to make a pass. And Calabro, I mean, pays the price for that, because remember, yeah, it's crabbing badly. Yeah, we saw him spin out there, but I think what really caused that is when he was trying to get going forward to keep off of a lap down, we saw him slam into the outside wall on his own, and I think that's what caused
that big old crab. But again, that's one of those things as a driver, Joe, that is so frustrating when you're running in front of a guy and he makes a mistake and it ruins part of your day.
Well, I guess experiencing a little bit of a carcinization there for Calabro, so he'll have to get that straightened out, and he did. It looks like he's taken his spare car and gotten back out on track. Still on the lead lap critically, but now he's got cars to pass all over again, and no surprises that Waylon Robinson was given the EOL penalty.
Well, again, yeah, no surprise there. And again, now a lot of work for Dylan Calabro coming from the rear of this field. And like we've seen, it's hard to pass. We see Jake Sylvia. He's up here now in 4th position. He's been able to pick away a position at a time on the restart. And that's why these restarts are so crazy, Joe, because they're a big time that you're able to get a position back on this field, because again, as we run green, it's so hard to get up under a guy and get some speed off of a corner to set up that pass. So the restarts get so crazy because drivers know I've got a great opportunity here to gain another position.
So far, the only 2 drivers out there using that spare car are Calabro and Weissman. Kyle Adams has used his, but he has parked it for the day, so he is out of this one, as well as having lost Hallinar. And Shell is still out there, but many laps down. Here we go for a restart. Once again, Muller and Biotti. Biotti gets the good jump. Muller is going to try and see if he can fill the gap between himself and Smith. There's enough of a space down there if he wants it, and he does.
Well, he got it because the 15 of Deegan Smith just caught the apron down there through 2, and that allowed Muller to be able to have that hole down filling into 2nd as we've got single filed out. But back here in the field, we've got double file battles.
Rychecki going way wide through 3 and 4. He's going to lose spots, allowing Calabro to at least get one more. How about Bradley Stefane, who was one of our quickest early on in qualifying? He's fighting hard with Jake Grout to his outside, the 49, trying not to smack the wall.
Jake Grout, we know that he is aggressive. He's going to squeeze down the 89 here. There's going to be slight contact. That 49 is going to use all the room he can, but Bradley Stefane, that dominant inside line, will take 5th away from Jake Grout, but a hard fight from that 49.
Yeah, just about leaning on the car of Stefane, and then at the same time he slapped the outside wall on the exit. That's what cost him in the end. Almost gave up a spot to Urich, but Urich can't do much about it. This is Stefane now in that number 89, down from where he started on pole and trying to climb his way back forward, doing a pretty good job of it from what we saw in that little fight.
Well, we're 100, or excuse me, not 100. We're not there yet. We're 61 laps into this race, so we're just over 1/4 of the way. So again, we've had 3 cautions out here now, or 4. I've lost count. These drivers know that, again, we're still early. We've still got 140 laps in this race. They're still trying to keep calm and try not to do anything too crazy.
Well, put yourself in one of these late model stocks as we watch the car of Robinson trying to overtake on Rychecki. When would you make the call to take tires? What would be the lap if we get a yellow at the right time that you say, okay, let's put some fresh rubber on?
Well, we know that this is a half mile. We know that while this is an abusive track, it's not the most abusive on tires. So again, if it runs green, I think these drivers can stay out here until lap 115, lap 120, you know, and they're still going to have good tires. That's around where I'd say if we stay green, I'd say they pit around lap 120. That's going to be running close to our fuel window as well, Joe. But I think if we get a caution around lap 90, lap 100, I think drivers might decide to gamble and take tires a little bit early.
We'll see if that's the case, because we have less than 30 laps to go until we get to that. This battle between Keegan Busch used to be with Calabro, and he's slipping backwards as Michael Weissman goes by. Now he's got another one down there. Waylon Robinson, the freight train reappears once again.
Waylon Robinson, fast car. We saw him extremely fast last week at Bristol. had some problems though, and he finished definitely farther back in the field than he wanted to. But we see that 133 has a fast car today, and now he's going to have to come through the field after that EOL.
Checking back in with Stefan. He's got sights set on Sylvia for 4th position, but he's got to watch out for Jake Grout. We've seen how he could try and elbow his way forward from time to time, and he's keeping Bradley Stefan honest, not allowing him to open up that bottom lane where possible. We hop on board with Jake, a little bit shallower off the exit, trying to get that throttle down.
Well, we see that we've got a 7-car breakaway here at the front of our field. It starts with our leader of Casey Beati, and it ends with the 97 of Sean Urich. These 7 cars have broken away from Dylan Calabro, Michael Weissman, and Waylon Robinson, Keegan Bush, and the rest of the field. So these 7 cars up here are in a league of their own.
Certainly looking like they've got fantastic pace at this stage, but we keep talking about it. Drivers are likely pacing themselves a bit out there to hold on to the rubber underneath them. So we don't know truly which one of these cars is the quickest right now. They're all just kind of biding their time, trying to take opportunities when they show themselves, just like that. A little hiccup from Sylvia. I wonder if that setup is not good midway through, as that's the 2nd time we've seen him lose control.
Light contact, what an amazing clear by the 89 of Stefan. He maybe had inches in between his bumper and the front bumper of Jake Sylvia, but again, took that opportunity. Will Jake Sylvia try to take the inside here, take it back? Yes, he will. Big dive, contact. Bradley Stefan, Jake Sylvia, he'll door him, and Sylvia will take the position back.
Excuse me, pardon me, coming through. Unfortunately for Stefan, that now means that he's got the 49 of Grout underneath him on top of things. Also, Sean Urich is in there trying to demote him yet another one. What was a 7-car train has now been limited down to 3 at the front because these guys can't seem to settle their differences.
All this started with Jake Sylvia. He got loose into 3. That allowed Stefan to get on his inside, but crucially, Stefan had a bad corner out of the next 2 sets, and that allowed Sylvia to get a run on the inside and door him and take that position away. Stefan, net loss of 1 position behind Jake Grout.
Urich will not be able to overtake him on top of things. He'll be able to slide back into line. Calabro now joining them, though. All that messing around has meant that both Calabro and Robinson have rocked up and made it once again about a 5-car train.
We got a fight for our 2nd position. Deegan Smith on the inside of Tyler Muller. He'll try to take it away. The Tyler Muller, the number 1, gets a good run here on the outside and holds it down, keeping it away from Deegan Smith. We stay 1, 2, 3 up here.
So it was a good attempt. Definitely a little bit smoother than what we've seen from a few other drivers out here so far tonight. Coming back off of turn 4 once again. Beati is probably very happy to see them fight, because the more they battle, the more he's going to be able to run away. He's got about 3 car lengths over them at the moment, so it's decent, but he would always love more.
Well, I think he's about to run into his first lap car of the day. League owner Kyle Adams out here on track. Had some connection issues. We saw that he had some footboard issues in qualifying with his pedal set. So Casey Beati coming up on lap traffic for the first time today. I imagine Adams will move right out of his way. Normally when we see cars at this track, when we see the modifieds, when we see late model stocks, when we see even the NASCAR trucks, Xfinity and Cup come here, we see 40-car fields, and we see lap traffic struggle and become an issue all day long. But in this 15-car field, it shouldn't plague him too much.
Well, a lap or 2 ago, we saw Martinsville drift out of Urich there coming off of turn 2, and that cost him a chance to try and fight with Robinson. I wonder if we're now starting to see a few of the drivers regret how much they've abused the tires up to this stage, because more and more slipping and sliding has started to show its head out on the track.
Well, Urich has now fallen to 9th, and you brought it up earlier. You brought up Casey Beati and Sean Urich are our 2 Triple Crown leaders right now, and I believe if Casey Beati finishes where he is right now, obviously, he would win our Triple Crown. But I was doing the math in my head. They're 2 points apart, and I believe that if Casey Beati finishes first and Sean Urich was able to get to third position, that would be the highest that Sean Urich could be for Casey Beati to take the Triple Crown if he stays ahead of him.
Riding on board with Jake Grout now. He'd love to try and get by Sylvia, or at least maybe ride his coattails up to that front group if he's fast enough to catch them. Jake's been using up, Sylvia, I should clarify, has been using up a lot of his stuff, but so could you argue that Grout also has been using up some rubber. There's a little bit of a drift high from the 88. Here comes the 49, sticking his nose in, then reconsidering.
Well, 49, again, we've seen him aggressive all day long. Decides to give that one up, lets it go, and probably a smart decision there. You don't want to mess with the beast of Jake Sylvia, so Jake Grout lays off there.
Back to the 74 of Weissman behind Keegan Bush. I can't quite put a finger on where Keegan's race pace is today, because he was charging forward after his lack of qualifying. And then it seems like things have stalled out, and we haven't seen him do much more than just sit here around the top 10, as he has a bit of a connection problem on top of it all, coming through 3 and 4.
You know, I'm just not sure. We saw Keegan Bush. We saw him strong a lot of the regular season in this Misfit Touring Series. He's had some great setups. I always love his paint schemes, supporting the Bush light. I always think that's a clever play on words. I love that so much. But Keegan Bush, we've seen him strong throughout this series, but he's just having some struggles here today.
Ooh, a little bobble down to the inside, as that is Jake Sylvia trying to lap the 24 of Kyle Adams. So that's not a race for position. It didn't feel completely comfortable, it looked like, next to him. Jake Grout going to follow him through.
These cars are not aero dependent, but air does affect them. When a car gets to your outside like that, Joe, it makes you a lot looser, because you don't have that air. As we'll see him get just a little bit loose there, you don't have that air holding you on the outside. You've got a car in your way blocking your air, so it makes your car a little bit looser and makes you a little bit more unstable. So that's why we see cars like Jake Sylvia and other cars like that, when there's someone on your outside, just a little bit more careful and maybe a little bit unstable.
So this is Robinson just behind Glabro for 7th position, as they continue to demote the number 24, who's probably going to want to forget this season finale here. And we eke ever closer to the halfway mark now. Just 10 laps left to go here, Scott.
These drivers are running them down. They're just running consistent laps, and this is what a lot of the drivers want. They don't want a caution-filled race, as the 133 gets a little bit loose there off the corner. These drivers want a calm race, at least in this middle portion. They want to log laps, see how their car reacts over time to a rubbering up track, and just log laps.
So a little bit of a slide from Sylvia from Grout once again, chasing on Sylvia. But I think they kept it out of the wall. Let's see what it looks like off of 4 this time. Between the pair of them, a little bit smoother. This still sees Bradley Stefane kind of stuck behind them, maybe waiting to see what develops between the two of them, because we know that we've got two drivers that are unafraid to try and fight hard out there. So maybe let them see what they'll do with each other. If they trip each other up, that's an easy 2 positions. If not, then, well, he can try and go for it on his own.
The battle of the Jakes. Both of them are very similar in their driving style, but we know that Jake Sylvia has had a dominant season here in Misfit Touring, but we also know that Jake Grout is an aggressive driver, and he's fast at that. So this is a great battle here that we're seeing between these two cars, as we got a battle for second position. Tyler Muller still ahead of Deegan Smith, but Deegan Smith might just have something for Tyler Muller.
I wonder if he does need to hurry it up to try and catch back up to Beati. They haven't lost touch with him. It's still at about half a second. So if it has been much that they're losing, it's by tiny little hundredths of a second. Regardless, he needs to make sure that 45 cannot scamper away.
No, I think right now, we'll see a little scuff of the wall there by Muller. That'll allow the 15 just to get right to his bumper, but not enough for him to be able to make that pass. But I think you're right. The 15 definitely doesn't want to see that 45 of Casey Beotti run away. But I think right now, again, I think Beotti is still saving what he's got. I think he's just running consistent laps, continuing to save his tire over this entire run to be able to run those consistent laps. So I think that's why we see that 45 is not running away, is we got Keegan Busch down in the pit lane.
This is an interesting call. And during green flag racing, I'm assuming he's going to try and take fuel and tires to get to the finish and cut this one pretty perfectly in half.
Well, again, you got to try something different, Joe. We've seen Busch running back just in our top 10 in 10th position. But now, if he follows the leaders, if he does what everyone else does, Joe, well, he's going to stay there. But if he tries something different, gets off sequence, then it just might work out for him.
Yeah, I think at this stage, with the way that it's been looking, we've been yellow for quite some time. In fact, this may have been our longest yellow flag run, or excuse me, green flag run. And coming around through 3 and 4, Shell going to stay out of the way of our leaders. Back onto the track, but to tell you the kind of loss that we see from this, 2 laps down from the leader, Keegan Busch, just for taking fuel and tires.
And this track is so short that's very common in what we see when you come to the pits in green right now. Now, Keegan Busch, he's going to be using those tires, and he's going to be trying to gain some of that back and hoping that a caution doesn't come out, because if it does, it will absolutely screw his strategy. Right now, he's hoping for more green flag, and he's hoping to force the rest of these guys to pit too.
Well, Waylon Robinson is going to respond. He's down into the lane to take service, expecting him to also lose a little bit here. We'll see if we can manage to stay green throughout. Deegan Smith pressurizing Tyler Muller in the number 1 machine as they fly down into 3 and 4, now officially past that halfway mark in the race.
Again, we see that it is just so hard to pass. We see that Tyler Muller, he started on the outside on this restart almost 45 laps ago, and now he still sits in the exact same position, and even he sits there even with a charging Deegan Smith. And so sometimes it shows you, Joe, that even if you have a bit of a faster car, track position is king, like we have talked about, and that's why it's so important here.
Checking to see what the pace of Keegan Busch looks like now that he's put the fresh tires on, and I'm not seeing, honestly, any different unless he's taking some time to get those tires up to temperature. If anything, he's slightly slower than he was.
Interesting. It must be a difference of the tire reacting with the rubber that has been laid down on the track. We're 106 laps into this race. This track is changing, Joe. As these drivers go around, we see that they'll lay down rubber on the track, and that can change how your car reacts, how your setup reacts to the track. So it might not be a difference in tire. It might be how Keegan Busch's setup is now reacting to the new track on fresh tires.
Here's another question on that. Remember, we mentioned that they needed to take fuel. I wonder if that extra fuel is offsetting what the tires can do.
Oh, I think it absolutely plays a factor, Joe. I think definitely these cars, they're heavy again. And with that new rubber down on the track, it adds some differences into this car and the way that it drives. And so it might make you slower. So interesting to think about the size of the fuel and the weight of it offsetting that run to the tires. But I think it definitely is playing a factor.
Urich in, Rychecki in, just as the 34 of Jared Schell, also looking like he's going to take some service. Thankfully, they did not tangle with one another, as you do kind of ghost with the other cars here on iRacing on pit lane. As he managed to get by. Yeah, Deegan Smith overtook the number 1 for P2.
Well, we saw the number 1 there go wide into 1. I think he knew that the 15 has been faster than him for so much long. We've seen the 15 on his bumper for so many laps now, and I think Muller was just ready to have some security on entry and not have that fear of Deegan Smith right on his bumper on the entry to every corner. So we saw him go wide and let that 15 by.
I think that was Urich that was going way up to the outside there through 3 and 4 as well, up into the marbles. Got to be careful on that one so that you don't drift up into the outside wall. We continue to watch with Grout. He and Sylvia have not pitted for new tires. Right now, I think actually Urich is, if I'm seeing correctly, is the car in the best position to have recently take tires on this mid-race call.
Well, we've seen he's the highest driver in the cycle to have pitted. He currently sits in 9th with new tires. So right now, he was the highest running of our field of these guys who have pitted before the pit cycle. So it makes sense right now that he's sitting best between them all. So that means that the top 8 have not pitted.
And Keegan Bush is heading into the pit lane. I'm not sure why. I don't see a black flag next to him. And I thought at first maybe that was the case because his last lap got deleted. Wonder if he's just going to park it. Yeah, he's coming to a halt, and that's Keegan Bush's day apparently over as he calls it. And now, is that Sylvia? That is Sylvia coming in. And Calabro.
Sylvia, Calabro, all into the lane. We're seeing some of our other guys pitting now. Wonder if Michael Weissman followed them in. I don't think he did. So just Calabro and Sylvia there of some of our front runners to pit. And will this call some of our front guys into pit, Joe?
So maybe with that extra fuel put on board, it's not the undercut today. It's the overcut. Run it down as low as you can go. Get those fresh tires on, but then make sure that you don't lose time with all that extra fuel slowing you up once you return to the track. Tyler still has not given up the ghost. He's going to stay out along with Deegan Smith after being overtaken by him. They're going to try and go as long as they dare.
Well, I wonder if that's the case, Joe. Will we see Casey Biotti, Deegan Smith, Tyler Muller, guys like Jake Grout, Bradley Stefane, will we see them stay out for maybe longer? You know, earlier I called it that around right now would be the optimal time to pit. But if that's true, if it's true about how the tire's wearing, and it's true with the track changing and the fuel load, will these guys stay out longer so that they can take less fuel and have that effect be negated or lessened later on?
Saw a little slide there from the 24 of Kyle Adams. Thankfully did not wreck the car. It continues to get lapped. He's in 13th position right now. Deegan Smith in P2. 1.5 seconds from Biotti up to our leader down to that number 15 car. So he's got some work. Oh, and he's pushing hard. I just saw him wiggle as we turned our cameras elsewhere to Bradley Stefane. So Deegan Smith might be feeling those worn tires at this stage as we watch Bradley work on Jake Grout. Both of them do still need pit stops.
They both still haven't pitted, but they're running right now. They must like what they've got, Joe, because they're not. It doesn't even look like they're thinking about it. We saw Tyler Muller come on the radio. Imagine he's talking about pitting and what's going on and what these guys are planning to do up in the front. But if these guys haven't pitted yet, I imagine they like what they've got and they want to stay out there and they want to keep it.
Maybe holding on to hope that they will get that caution, because right now we've got Sylvia and Calabro a lap down each. Urich 2 laps down, Robinson 2 laps down, and Rychecki 2 laps down. Those are the cars that have pitted and are not looking like the early call has been working out. They now sit in the danger zone, waiting and hoping that those leaders pit and don't trap them a lap down with a full course yellow.
They definitely don't want that, and that would be bad. And one thing I'm seeing right now is we'll see Jake Grout heading down into the pit box. I'm not sure how the commitment box works here on iRacing, if it counts or not, but he did run right over it as well. One of our top 5 now into the pits.
That might be an unsafe pit entry. No, he did not get penalized, so it looks like he managed to get in time.
Our in too.
There it is. Okay, so I think we've reached the end of that pit window, except for Bradley Stefane, who remains out, and he has not stopped in pit lane at all from what I can see. So it's not him taking fuel earlier in the race and being sneaky. He's just been great with that right foot.
Well, again, I guess he likes what he's got, and he wants to stay out there just a little bit longer, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out with the rest of our leaders coming into pit, getting new tires, getting some more fuel, but Bradley Stefane, the only one still out there.
At what point does he have no more to give and he needs to come in at least to get fuel? Whether or not he gets tires, we'll need to wait and see. Looks like some of the big winners out of that, Sylvia jumped Moeller, interestingly, and we're waiting on Weissman to pit. Now, he pitted a long time ago, but I don't think he took tires. Now, whether he has the fuel to get to the end, I think that's unlikely. You said 120 was about the farthest anybody could go?
I believe so. With these cars, how they run and how they consume fuel, I believe 120 is around our fuel window.
I think Stefane is trying to push that limit. He's up to 129, still without any sort of pit stop, but he could have been lifting and coasting from the very beginning.
That would be with green flag run. We had some cautions earlier that we saw.
True.
Guys able to save fuel,
So Weissman on 53. Now those cautions could help him stretch that there. I think it'll all depend on what it looks like in the second half of the race. And if we do get any more yellows to help him out to stay out to the finish. If so, we've been saying track position seems to be ever so important here. And considering the tires are not doing what we thought that they would do just because of the refueling, he could have put himself in a really good spot here if he topped up back on lap, I think it was 53.
I agree with you. That's a strategy I wasn't thinking about here, but Michael Weissman might be trying something different. And again, Bradley Stefane also trying something different. Still out here on, he has not pitted yet. The entirety of this race, we had some cautions earlier where he was maybe able to save some fuel right now, but I'm wondering when is he going to run out, because we're at lap 133 now, and I imagine he's getting real low on fuel.
He's got to be at this stage. The car's probably close to the very end of it. He's got about 11 seconds over Weissman. In fact, he and Weissman are the only two on the lead lap. Biotti's trying to get his lap back, but he has half a lap to just do that, let alone catch back up to the leader.
Yeah, you can catch up there, but again, Joe, that all works out with pit cycle. These guys, if Casey Biotti tried to go out and catch them on raw speed, he definitely could, but it would definitely use up a lot of what he's got, and he knows that those guys are going to have, well, at least for Stefane, he knows 100% that Stefane is going to have to pit. But he also knows, Casey Biotti, that he doesn't have to win the race to win the Triple Crown.
That's a good point. Yeah, him sitting in that third spot probably is going to be enough for him. And checking to see, yeah, Weissman's not really in it. Stefane. Oh, we got a yellow.
Caution. Well, this changes it for sure. This is a big W for Bradley Stefane and Michael Weissman. This puts them on the lead lap. Everyone else 1 and 2 laps down. They'll all have to take the wave around, which will cycle Stefane and Weissman up to the front.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Ooh.
So Jake Grout, I think, blew his engine on the main straight, got hit by Rychecki and turned around. I at first thought he brake checked him, but I went and looked closer and you can see a puff of smoke come out of the car just before the contact.
Really? Wow, that's not something that we see often here.
Maybe just over-revved it. Maybe he had a bit of damage too that had been building up. Maybe his temperatures were rising inside the car. Watch for it. Yeah,
wow. You just see him absolutely start losing speed, and that 78 of Rychecki just gets right into the back of him. Had no warning that Jake Grout was going to massively slow up there, and just got around to him. Jake Grout was given the EOL there. Obviously, he's probably going to be out of this race, but good. Luckily, it wasn't given to the 78 because he had no idea that was going to happen.
Well, it's kind of pointless for Grout. He still has his spare car, but because he couldn't drive it back to pit lane, he has to wait, and so he's already gone laps down. Basically, this ruined his shot at trying to take the victory. With a little bit more than 60 laps left to go, Weissman comes in to finally get fuel, and Stefane, well, he's already gone in and out, it looks like. Yeah, he's already taken his service.
I believe so, and that's why I think this is going to be this was a massive big W for him, because this is what he wanted. He wanted that caution. I'm not sure what his strategy was, but the only thing I can imagine is that it was to stay out and wait for a caution, because if he had pitted under green, he'd have been back down in seventh position, cycled back to where he was. But this is exactly what he needed. And again, this is a great strategy play for Michael Weissman. I don't think we saw him come back down pit road. I'm not sure if he has, but again, he'll still be near the front and much farther up than he was in our running.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Stefan coming in means that he was able to put fresh tires on. Weissman is out there on much older tires, and Biotti is as well. Actually, did they reorder them? I thought Biotti was supposed to be ahead of Stefan, and that looks like they've switched that around. So I thought that Biotti was going to be in the lead, and Bradley was going to have to try and get by him on the new tires, but they've switched them around here.
Well, see, Biotti has to get his lap back, and since Bradley, Stefan, and them are on the lead lap, it automatically puts them back behind.
That makes sense now. I forgot that he was still a lap down on that one. So yeah, Casey, who did not pit this time, as they're going to extend this caution. So yes, the pace truck is heading in, but they're still trying to sort the cars because so many of them had to get that wave around. It's such a short track, they didn't have a chance to try and catch back up to them. This should hopefully get us going pretty soon here, now that they've slowed them back up once again. But yeah, I mean, Stefan and Weissman on fresh tires compared to everybody else. Unless we get a caution that the other drivers, now that they're back on the lead lap, can go and get rubber, this one's very firmly in the hands of the 89 and the 74.
Yeah, one big thing that I want to talk about for sure is that right now, Casey Biotti, he's leading our Triple Crown points. When he stays ahead of Sean Urich here. When we came into this race, Sean Urich was ahead of Casey Biotti by 2 points. So that means, viewers, that if Casey Biotti is ahead of Sean Urich by more than 2 positions, he will win the Triple Crowns. We got green, Kyle Adams around.
Oh, that's going to bring the yellow very quickly. And that was a strange one, because had we heard anything from race control that there was supposed to go single file? Because there was only the top 2 that were doubled up there.
No, I didn't see anything in race control about that, and I didn't see we were going green there. They weren't lined up. They weren't. That was weird.
Yeah. I mean, strange situation all around. But thankfully I don't know about thankfully, we've gone right back to yellow. But I mean, this gives them a chance to hopefully get this all back sorted out, especially now that pit stops have mostly been done. So drivers that were trying to get back on the lead lap and had to get waved around, we won't have as much of that this time. But it does give an excellent chance to Sylvia, Muller, Smith, Calabro. They can duck into the pits and take tires.
They can. We see Jake Grout. He had that engine expiration. He is now 2 laps down on the rest of the field. So we'll see a replay of what happened here. We had our restart. Oh, I know what it was. I know why they're all single file. Once you take the wave around, you have to start on the inside line. That's what it is.
Okay.
So there we saw all these drivers stack up on the inside, and it got Kyle Adams around.
I like to think that I know my way around the oval rules at this stage, but that one has definitely caught me out. So I'll have to remember that.
I forgot about it too,
yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's because they all waved around.
I mean, it was just one of those unique situations that it looked kind of odd, just because so many had to get waved around.
Yep.
Not often that we'll see it look like that.
No, not often at all. That's why we were confused up here, like, wait, are they starting to single file? But we saw Stefan and Weissman on the lead lap. Everyone else in the entire field had to wave around. And viewers, when you have to wave around like that, that means that you line up single file on the inside, not double file like we normally see.
Okay, so I thought for sure we'd see the rest of those on the lead lap pit in to take service, but none have. Everybody stayed out on this yellow, at least except for Calabro, who was in, I think, to take repairs on this one, getting back into it. In fact, he may have been the lucky dog even, so that's why he did that. So again, surely they had a set left, I think. Well, I guess that's 3 total sets, so maybe they're saving it for the end, but I feel like this would have been the right time.
I think right now they might be saving it, but I don't think these drivers are planning on using it. I think we saw after those green flag pit stops that drivers saw that it really wasn't as effective as they may have thought in their strategy play, and that now they know that this is what they've got. They've got enough in their fuel tank to make it all the way. Their tires are going to make it, and so now these drivers might be thinking, "I've got enough. This is good for me."
Yeah, but I think before that came down, sorry to interrupt, to the fuel levels. If you're,
I agree.
I think the tires are still going to have a major effect. We haven't got to see it for sure yet, but most certainly the refueling skewed that a bit. I don't know if they just missed that trick or what out there, because they're focused on other things. They're coming back to green now, and Stefan has control of the field. Weissman to his outside, and Sylvia in behind in third. Always a threat. Green flag is out. What about Tyler Muller, who is starting from fourth? Oh, he can't find an opening on the bottom, though. He's going to hold around the outside. The 74 going to lose out to the 88, who's going to take second place.
51 laps to go. Weissman on the outside here. Jake Sylvia on his inside, battling for second. Dylan Calabro goes around Tyler Muller for fourth. Michael Weissman, caution, out in the back of the field.
Yeah, that was the 24 getting into Jake Grout. Okay, Grout checked up because I think he almost got into Shell. This is kind of dominoes trickling their way down through the field.
Another big thing we weren't able to mention, when we saw Kyle Adams spin on that weird single file that we were all confused about, Deegan Smith was given the EOL and put in the back of the field for causing that caution. So that's why we don't see him anywhere near Tyler Muller.
Now we have 1/4 of the race left here, so the final quarter on its way. Boy, for all the speed and aggression that we've seen from Jake Grout, it just hasn't seemed to work out here for him. Although this one, I think not necessarily his fault. Yeah, there you can see the 34 drifts up a little bit high. He checks up. 24 didn't get the memo. And we've seen this so much all season long, Scott. The front to rear contact, these cars are practically like scoops.
Well, they're just like scoops, and it's something we've seen all day long. We just got the word from Brandon at Race Control. They're parking the 34. He's had a few incidents today, and they're going to go ahead and park him because he was causing some issues out on track. Just didn't have the car he wanted today. But you're exactly right. We've seen this all season long. The way these noses and the rear bumper of these cars line up, they are the opposite of puzzle pieces. That front nose just gets right up under the rear and lifts those rear tires right off the ground, and you lose all control, and you're going around as a driver.
So that means we've lost Talinar, we've lost Keegan Bush, we've lost Jared Shell. Only 12 cars left on the track for the Triple Crown finale. And this doesn't appear to be lined up, although they're almost in a semblance of order, and lights are still on. So yeah, there we go. Now they go off. So they've got this lap to truly form up and get ready to go. And because of all these cautions and drivers getting the wave around back onto the lead lap, we're up to 9 of them. Waylon Robinson now the last on the lead lap.
And that puts Sean Urich, our current Triple Crown points leader, the first car a lap down, and he needs a caution to come out. He needs to get back on that lead lap to have a fight or any chance of fighting for this Triple Crown. Casey Beatty right now sits in 6th and leads our points.
Coming up to the green flag on the restart, Stefan versus Sylvia. Sylvia needs to find an opening down there. He's going to try and slot in just in front of Weissman, and he does it. Meanwhile, around the outside of Weissman, that's going to be the 91 of Calabro.
Calabro trying to make the outside work here. We saw him do it at the very beginning of the race. Will he be able to do it again? No, he's not going to have the speed. Weissman still has the position on the bottom, but Calabro is not giving up. Directly behind them is the one of Muller on the inside of Casey Beatty.
Oh, and down for the lead. The 88's going to get his nose in. Almost makes contact. He gets chopped off. Stefan decides, no, you're not quite yet. I want this top spot.
What a defense from Bradley Stefane. Got him low, squeezed that 88 of Sylvia onto the apron. The 88 had to check up and gave that position. He's going for the inside again, trying to clear Stefane in one go. He's going to have the inside, but Stefane will battle back on the outside.
Finally gave him room that time, but will that be his undoing as he hangs tough around the outside of the corner? Looks like that's going to be it. Sylvia, now your new leader. Stefane hangs with him. We got a battle between Muller and Deegan Smith for fourth place as well.
Stefane doesn't look for the crossover. Michael Weissman follows in third directly behind. Deegan Smith had that EOL for the caution just earlier before the one with Jared Schell. He's back up to fourth position and in front of Tyler Muller. Dylan Calabro down on the inside of Muller. Contact!
We got cars together. Tyler going to hold on to it as Dylan Calabro is going to get his elbows out. We stay green. This is for fifth position.
Calabro there held it together. He got into the side of Muller. Muller was able to keep it together, keep it from spinning. Jeremiah Rychecki now up to seventh position, just behind Muller. Made some gains today in our field with this rash of cautions.
Sylvia, now up that he's up at the front, has been starting to gap Stefane a little bit. Weissman, though, has been putting some pressure on as we check in with the 45 briefly. In fact, there goes a move down to the inside. Stefane almost looking like he's struggling a little bit now.
Big story. Casey Beati, our leader for almost this entire race, down in ninth position, just one position ahead of Sean Urich, your current points leader right now. I believe that would put Urich in the win for the Triple Crown. So something has gone wrong with Casey Beati in his car.
Yep, and Waylon Robinson fighting side by side with Rychecki. This is for the seventh position here. Rychecki to the outside. Can't do much to stop it. Beati knows it. He's going to try and push himself that little bit higher. Gets into the side of Rychecki. They won't wreck, but drivers are now giving a lot less and taking a lot more.
And Rychecki came off the corner, and there was a little bit of net code between him and Beati. Got into the right rear of Beati, just the slightest. But Beati, that 45, was able to hang on to it and moves into eighth position. It gives him a buffer between him and Urich.
And Urich is 2 laps down, so Urich needs another caution to really do anything. He needs 2 more cautions to catch up to the rest of the field. This is in the hands of the 45. If he passes another car, there's precious little that Sean can do to stop him.
I think as long as Beati has one car in between him and Urich, I believe that ties them in points, and I imagine the tiebreaker would go to track position. So as long as there's one car in between the two, Casey Beati will have the Triple Crown, but he wants more than one car buffer, and he's going to go after Waylon Robinson here.
Yep, I'm sure he wants to make this a done deal, not something where they have to go back on count back for it. And we have less than 40 laps to go in this race. Calabro just behind Stefane after restarting this one at the very front of the field, the 89. Oh, in front of them, close moments as Smith just manages to elbow out Weissman.
That's the kind of move that we see. That's the move that you're just able to keep a car together, but you're able to use your bumper and get him right out of the way. Deegan Smith, we know he's had a fast car all day long. Michael Weissman on his bumper cannot do it. Michael Weissman hasn't given up, though, trying to go for the outside here.
Dylan looks like his car is very hooked up late in this stint. He's also charging forward. He's going to demote Stefane like he is standing still, who's going to unfortunately also have to give way to the one. It looks like now that Tyler's managed to get inside of him, just about has to elbow him out of the way on top of it. But now Dylan is caught up to guys like Weissman and Smith. That might be a different story.
And we see Stefane on the outside getting absolutely train wrecked. Contact between him and Robinson. That'll give Stefane the position and keep him to the inside and stop that bleeding of loss of position. But right now we've seen something, Joe, that we've seen all season long. A massive gap between the first and second place car. And that first place car is Jake Sylvia.
He's been doing this a lot when he manages to get to the lead. It's bad news for the rest of the field. Also, Beati has caught up to Robinson thanks to all that battling. He's pushing hard. You can see him slide out to the wall while Waylon is searching to see if he can get ahead of Stefan before he gets passed by the 45.
He wants another cushion between him and Urich. He wants to know that when he crosses that checkered flag, that he absolutely has the win to that Triple Crown. But as we know, Waylon Robinson, fast driver, he's not going to give it to Biotti.
Swinging down now through 3 and 4. Once again, things settling into a rhythm. Just as I say that, we get a yellow, and Robinson cannot make the pass. Not sure who caused that. I'm checking to see.
Just under 30 laps to go, and we have another caution out here yet again. We're looking on with Waylon Robinson ahead with the one of Muller there, excuse me, the 78 of Rychecki. We're not quite sure who caused this yet, but I tell you, we're gonna figure it out.
It's Rychecki, so he has contact with Jake Grout. This is going to be coming out. Oh no, it wasn't Grout. That was Urich. So Urich turned him around.
And I wonder if that will give Urich the EOL. But another big news, Casey Biotti is in the pits.
Ooh, wonder if he is going for those fresh tires now. I'm going to keep an eye on him, see if whether he is going to put some rubber on here. Because if he does, then yeah, I almost feel like this is probably the right call because he's not going to fall behind Urich.
No, I think this is a great gamble. Again, you know, hopefully he probably won't take much fuel, if any at all, to keep that offset of the fuel load and tires like we talked about earlier. But I think this is a great call by Biotti.
Only right sides. Interesting. So he's keeping a couple in his pocket just in case. So he'll come back out in 9th. Urich is still one behind him. So as it stands now, Urich would still be your Triple Crown champion. But now we know that Casey has a bit of an ace up his sleeve.
Well, and another thing that we know, this very frustrating here for Sean Urich, because if he wasn't involved in that incident right there, well, it probably would have given Urich the wave around. It would have given him the lucky dog for these guys. So since he was given that EOL, it negates that, and he's still going to stay 2 laps down here. But again, Casey Biotti down there with there only one position between them, and that means that Urich, as of right now, as they stand, would be your Triple Crown champion.
Looks like lights should be going off. There they go. As we get ready for the restart. Still 12 cars out on the track, but still only 9 of them on the lead lap, since Urich still needs to get his lap back, but he won't this time because of him being involved in that accident. In fact, I think he was given, was that EOL this just given now, or is that an old message here on timing and scoring?
I believe that was an old message. He's already in the back and where he should be.
Okay, here we go. Restarting once again, 24 laps left in this race. Make that 23 as we cross the line. And Jake Sylvia is going to jump ahead of Deegan Smith, who has to chop down a cross of Weissman.
Jake Sylvia takes your lead away. Deegan Smith just behind him. Then Michael Weissman on the inside of Dylan Calabro. Tyler Muller on the inside of Stefan.
Still side by side. Weissman on the bottom side of Calabro with Muller, hoping to maybe demote that car up on the outside, down a few positions. Also Deegan Smith, now that he's restarted close to the leader, he's trying not to let go as we have an accident back there. Jake Crowd, I think, slapping the wall.
That was Stefan, and he slaps the wall yet again. Stefan is going all the way to the back of our field. That happened on the outside of Waylon Robinson there, and Waylon Robinson takes the position away and takes 6th.
So what happened was Grout blew the engine again. I'm going to take a wild stab here. I wonder if he was shifting in the corners, and I think he was making a money shift in both of those situations, because that was very strange.
Around Tyler Muller.
No caution yet. Oh, but he comes back across. And that's going to bring out the yellow flag. That hit Urich pretty hard. Does he have damage from that one?
I don't know. If he did, that is going to be very upsetting for his rear. Got tagged right in the right rear tire. Muller, Waylon Robinson charged in, got lifted up the rears of Tyler Muller and spun him right around.
So I think we've lost Jake Grout, like I was saying. Looks like Urich's able to get the car going. Boy, Muller is not going to be too pleased with that one. And I see Bradley Stefane diving into pit lane. I don't think he was involved in that wreck, was he? So this is probably a tire call.
Well, Stefane was having an issue earlier. He was just behind Muller before our caution came out, and he actually slapped the wall and lost a ton of speed and fell to the back of our field. So he might have some wheel damage that he's trying to fix here or something of that nature.
So Tyler's given the EOL for this one. Again, if that was because... wait, no, this was I was still stuck on what happened with Grout there. So the Grout didn't bring out the caution. This was something completely different.
Not
so yeah,
sure why Muller would get the EOL though, because someone definitely got into him and lifted up his rear. Oh, I know what it was. With the spin, didn't cause the caution when he got into Urich. That's what caused the caution.
Yeah, so didn't lock down the car. Was
Yes.
trying to save it. And I mean, that's everybody's instinct. When you're in the car, you want to try and keep it pointed forward. You don't want to lose time. We'll take a look at it here, but you have to be predictable, and his car just was not.
Waylon Robinson just carried way too much speed, lifted up the rears of Muller, and then we'll get a shot of Muller here soon. We see Muller, he spun out into one there, tried to keep it going as fast as he could, and got loose again and got into Urich.
We reset once again, and Deegan Smith will get another shot at trying to keep hold of Jake Sylvia and maybe try and make a pass. Boy, Weissman and Calabro were in quite a fight there on the last restart. Now they've got Biotti kind of in the mix. Here's another look at it. There's the one going around initially, gets pointed back forward, loses control again, and the 97, wrong place, wrong time.
You know, one thing I'm looking at right now, Joe, is we've been talking about this battle between Sean Urich and Casey Biotti all night long. But one thing now, Deegan Smith and Jake Sylvia are at the front of our field, and they are the third and fourth car in position in the Triple Crown points. They're only three. Deegan Smith is 3 back from Casey Biotti, and Jake Sylvia is 1 back from Deegan Smith. So with Casey Biotti and Sean Urich now being in the back, this really changes the game.
I think this will mean that Biotti and Smith would be tied on points. Yeah.
But
wow.
I think that would also equally tie Jake Sylvia with them as well, because he's only 1 back from Deegan Smith. So right now, with the running order that we have a 3-way tie for the Triple Crown.
We're trying to see if we can get the rule book to let us know what.
Quick math, me and Joe up here in the booth, trying to figure it out.
And unfortunately, we don't have an answer yet on what the tiebreaker is. That's the big thing. If this winds up, we absolutely need it the way it's been looking. Green flag is out. 14 laps to go now as they swing into turn 1. Weissman going to take that 3rd spot. Calabro fighting hard with Biotti.
Well, Casey Biotti, if he can get just another position, that should take him above the tiebreaker. So as long as Jake Sylvia and Deegan Smith sit 1 and 2, Casey Biotti has to be within 3 positions of Deegan Smith, and he is right now, and that should put him in our lead for Triple Crown yet again. Contact with Waylon Robinson and Dylan Calabro.
They'll drift up the track, but they prevent the yellow from being thrown once again. We're down towards the end of it. Let's not forget that I believe we've got 2 green-white checkers in our pockets.
We might need them with this action getting crazy here, Joe.
We certainly do, but we'd love to see a green flag finish, as in the back. I think Kyle Adams got spun around. Nobody around. He's going to try to get the car going. We stay green once again. No, he just overspins it.
We're still green right now. Can he get it around? Yes, he can. We're still green. 11 laps to go, Joe.
Can't seem to find that rule book up in here. So unfortunately, I'm a bit at a loss. We might have to try and consult somebody behind the scenes during the break to really find out who the Triple Crown champion is going to be, as Dylan Calabro back to ninth, unfortunately. Oh, big defense down to the inside as he bangs doors, and the one gets slid up the hill.
And he absolutely uses up the one of Muller to take away the position there. Dylan Calabro using everything he's got right now. Casey Beati sitting fourth. Jake Sylvia and Deegan Smith sitting 1 and 2. Again, if our math is correct, that should put the 45 in the lead of the Triple Crown points.
Yep, that should put him 1 point ahead of his rivals here as he sticks behind Jake Sylvia. Deegan Smith knows that he's got to do better than this. Does Beati know that he sits where he needs to be? There's so many moving parts in this championship right down at the end.
8 laps to go. They hold position. Deegan Smith has fallen back from Jake Sylvia, and right now, if Casey has any idea where he sits right now, he wants to stay here. He wants to make sure that he holds off Waylon Robinson, because if he falls back below Waylon Robinson, that puts us at a 3-way tie.
Stefane able to get by Rychecki. That's going to put him up into 6th now. So he's trying to charge his way forward late in this race. Going to put another lap on the 24, who tries to stay out of the way of the field. Meanwhile, is down to the inside. Calabro now taking advantage.
We know that he has a fast car, and he has been using it here ever since he got put to the back. Now on the inside of Rychecki, trying to go for 7th position, and he will have it.
3 wide to make that pass, a big chunk into the wall there for Rychecki, unfortunately. So he's feeling this 200-lap race at this stage. It has been wearing these drivers out. It has been an outright slog on this circuit, but we're almost to the end. It is now down to 4 laps to go.
We're now
3.
just under 3. The ticker just moved over. Jake Sylvia still has our lead over Deegan Smith. Then Michael Weissman and that 45 of Casey Beati, followed by that 133 of Waylon Robinson, your top 5. 2 to go at the line.
It's coming down to it. Sylvia might be able to take a win here at the very end, but it's going to come up just shy of the Triple Crown to win that belt buckle. The 88 going to get the white flag. 1 to go.
1 to go here with the Misfit Touring Series with the Triple Crown Showdown. Right now, Casey Beati sits in 4th place, but 4th place is good enough for the win. A 1 above Jake Sylvia and Deegan Smith.
Jake Sylvia off the final turn. He is going to win the last race of the Triple Crown here in the Misfit Touring Series. But behind him, coming in 4th, by our calculations unofficially, Casey Beati is your Triple Crown champion.
Wow, what a race, Joe. What a finish. I absolutely did not think anyone else was going to come into play today, and that was on me, counting out Deegan Smith and Jake Sylvia here today. A great win by Jake Sylvia, and unofficially again, a great win by Casey Beati in our Triple Crown Showdown. He's doing some burnouts, and I imagine that means he knows that he's won.
Jake Sylvia going to join him with those celebrations here at the very end. We have a classic track giving us a classic, a Triple Crown, triple threat fight for the win there in the points at the very end of this race. That was unbelievable. You couldn't have written it better.
No, I couldn't. I looked at it, the points, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're tied. We're 3 ways.
Phenomenal stuff. And what a drive from the 88. Remember, he had to push through a lot of cars there to get the win this time. The 45 just did not give up on it, managing to put himself into a championship winning position. So great stuff. And we did get confirmation from race control. It looks like Casey is indeed our champion.
Well, he's going to get the silver from Molly's Custom Silver, and he is going to wear it with pride.
Okay, so I think that And this is, well, I should say unofficial champion. Is it is still not fully official, but from race control, they're confirming our calculations as to what we saw as they're going to put it nose to nose. Do we have a quick break here before we head off to our results? Yeah, we're going to just take a little. This net code gives us a bit of an abomination here on the front stretch.
It's the combination of winners and champions.
All right. Let's head to break here. We'll come back with the unofficial results here shortly on the Misfit Touring Series.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. The last race of the Triple Crown here in the Misfit Touring Series sees Jake Sylvia take the win, coming up from 8th on the grid. Deegan Smith kept him honest at the end, but he didn't have the speed to try and make that overtake. Still, he captured a valuable second place over Michael Weissman, rounding out the podium. But it was the first man off the podium that claimed the crown, as Casey Beati is our unofficial champion, at least until post-race review, till we can get that confirmed. Waylon Robinson was 5th, as Dylan Calabro finished P6. Jeremiah Rychecki was 7th. Bradley Stefane P8 after starting on the pole. Tried a late race stop for tires, didn't quite work out. Muller was 9th, and Sean Urich rounds out your top 10.
Well, then back in 11th position, we had Kyle Adams. We saw him 10 laps down. Jake Grout, we saw him blow an engine twice, which I've never heard of before. Ended him 12th. Then the 34 of Jared Schell had some issues today with his car, put him 13th. Keegan Bush, we saw that he had a wheel he had some issues with his car as well, put him 14th. And then Alex Hallinar, he had some wheel issues, put him down in 15th, our last runner of the day.
Let's talk to our race winner first, Jake Sylvia, who definitely had to fight and claw his way to get up there. We talked about how important it is to get yourself that track position, and Jake eventually got there. Jake, you had to come from pretty decently far back in the field on this one. Was this kind of a big sigh of like, oh, here we go, coming into this race?
Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew going into this, the odds of both Sean and Casey having a bad night were very low. So I came out here with one goal, and that was to win it. Starting 8th or not, it didn't matter to me. I had to go. I kind of got messed up on the initial start and shuffled back, and right around like the mid-hundreds, I was slower than all get out. So I was really just preying on something. So it was definitely nice to see the yellow and everything kind of play out in my favor. It was a shame Casey got the lucky dog in a bad spot because he didn't need to pit, so it put him back a little bit farther than where he wanted to. But we were able to get it done tonight, so it's a good night.
Well, we were kind of back and forth all race long, since you guys had tire sets during this one to try and change when you felt like, but we couldn't tell if they were actually worth pace. Did the tires give you anything out here, or were they just not worth enough?
Oh no, the tires were definitely worth a lot. The biggest thing was anytime we took tires, it's not burning them off right away. Even there, like the end of the race, me and Deacon were setting the fastest laps. I set the fastest lap of the race at 191. and that was solely just because I was going. I probably could have went about a tenth and a half, maybe 2 tenths faster on that lap if I had gone as hard as I did then at the beginning when I took my tires. So it was really just based on how hard you were going throughout the run. But tires were definitely a big thing.
Well, we saw an entire season now, and we watched you fight hard with everybody. We've wrapped it up. What are your thoughts about how this went as a whole? Did you have fun out with this group?
Oh, this has been a blast. I don't really like leagues. I'm not a big league guy. I like to do my official stuff, and that's about it. And this is the first time in, I don't know, 4 years that I've stuck to something like this. So it's been really fun. I've had a great time straight from the get-go. Ran through the whole touring regular season and then into this. It's been great. It's nice to see, the car count, still staying there. We didn't have too many problems there. It was good to see everybody was sticking around. Everybody was intrigued. Everybody was interested. Everybody was, the viewership was there the whole season. This is a very long season compared to most leagues, especially throughout the wintertime. So for us to be able to stick with that the whole time was really, really cool.
Again, congratulations on the victory. Maybe just shy of the championship, but we saw that you're fast.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's Jake Sylvia in the number 88, your winner here today. Up next, I believe Scott has caught up with Deegan Smith, who also was just shy on those points.
Well, Deegan, you were just shy on the Triple Crown. We were calculating it as the race was happening, and once the final restart happened, Casey Beati, you and Jake Sylvia were all tied, but Casey Beati was able to take one position. What more did you need there to get past Jake Sylvia?
I don't know. I felt like my car was pretty good. I don't know. I was a little loose in 3 and 4, which wasn't helping, but I think other than that, if I wasn't loose, I think I could have got up to Jake maybe.
What was the big battle today? We saw an interesting strategy with tires. What was the car feeling like once you got on fresh ones? Was the fuel too heavy to negate the fresh tires? How did it feel under you?
I felt a lot better. Even though I was running roughly around the same lap times, I didn't add as much fuel as I could have. I only added like 7 more gallons, so I didn't have the extra weight, but I definitely think that tires weren't really a big deal.
One big thing that we saw with about 40 laps to go, we saw you had the issue on the front stretch after everyone waved around. You had the issue with Kyle Adams that gave you an EOL and put you in the back. You had been running up front for most of the day. How, as a driver, do you switch up your mindsets and know that you're put to the back? How do you come back from that?
You just got to stay calm and stay aggressive, past the lap cars that are in the way, and hopefully just pass everybody as cleanly as you can to keep their respect.
Well, Deegan Smith finished second in your race today. We saw him finish very well in the Misfit Touring regular season. Deegan, before I let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Fusion Setup Shop and Victory Fuel.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much, Deegan Smith. We're excited to see you in the summer series. Hopefully you join us back for that. Next up, we've got the 3rd place finisher of Michael Weissman. We saw him strong all week long, and I've caught up with him. Michael, 3rd place finish today. What more did you need to maybe win this race here at Martinsville today?
I need a lot more roll-through center speed. Get in the middle of the corner, just wanted to push real bad.
What was it like? We know Martinsville, we know it's a track where it's very hard to pass. We saw a lot of incidents today where guys just could not move forward. What was your strategy as a driver to overcome that?
Keep the car under me.
We saw some aggressive moves. What was your take on aggressive moves today? You know, we know Martinsville, like you just said, sometimes you got to get the car under you, and sometimes you got to be a little physical to do that. What was your take come into today? Were you like, I'm not going to move a guy or whatever? Or were you ready to move anyone at your will?
I'll admit there was a few people that were on a hit list that if they started messing with me, they were going to get a bumper or two, but I just tried to run my own race. I knew it was going to be aggressive with some people. Points on the line, title on the line for Beatty and Yerk, of course. Congrats to Beatty on that he won. Or Betty. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong, but
Biotti.
just
Figured that one out the hard way for us, too.
he just told me that too. But congrats to him on the title. I know he needed points badly and just tried riding around, making moves when I needed to. Tried being clean with it, but this track you gotta use the bumper to get past someone.
Well, it was a hard-fought race today. You came up just short of the win, but another great podium finish. Obviously, you had guys on the hit list. You've raced with a lot of these guys all season long. We hope to see you back in the Summer Series. And before I let you go, anyone you'd like to thank today, Michael?
I'd like to thank a shout out to Josh Cottle helping me build this setup and coaching me get around here. Thank Kyle Adams for putting this on. I know he gets some hate for it, but this has been pretty fun and happy the races are getting a lot better. The last two were a little iffy, but glad to be here and have fun with you guys.
Well, we're glad you're here too. You always put on some amazing races. You're an excellent driver. Thanks for coming in the booth with us today. Thank you, Michael. Next up, we will have your unofficial Triple Crown Showdown champion who will take that Molly Silver belt buckle, and he caught up with Joe Peak.
Indeed, Casey Biotti here with us. Fourth place finish was enough to clinch it by a single point, from what we understand. Casey, were you counting those points out there? Were you keeping track of it?
Oh, absolutely. I was real nervous there at the end. I counted, I don't know, probably 10, 15 times in those last 10 laps. Like, okay, I got him here. I can only beat him by this many. They can only beat me by this many. I was definitely a headache.
I can imagine, and especially the second half of the race, because it looked like the first half was really yours. You were up to the front almost the entire time. So when you got shuffled back into the field, what's going through your mind?
Oh, I need to get more positions. I need to pass cars. I just tried to put my head down and pass as many cars as possible. And I know I got a little messed up there when everybody got the lucky dog, and I somehow shuffled out in the back, which didn't really make sense to me, but kind of just had to put my head down and pass as many cars as possible.
That you did. In the end, we've got such a great schedule for this one. We saw so many classic tracks, but is there one out there that you felt was missing this season that you want to see show up in next season's touring series?
With how many Northeast guys there is, definitely Oxford's Plain Speedway. That I was kind of hoping that was going to be there with how many Northeast guys run this, but fortunately it wasn't on the schedule this season.
Well, we'll keep an eye out, see if they'll give it to you since you take the championship this time. But congratulations, anybody you want to thank for this?
Arcam Setup Shop, they built a bad fast setup this week. I know Jake was on an Arcam setup, many other guys, and everybody was on that, was definitely showing speed. And Jake Art Racing for making my awesome car, and MRL for putting this on, you guys for broadcasting it. That's about it.
Thank you very much. That was Casey Biotti, your champion here in the Touring Series, the Misfit Touring Series. Triple Crown now done here at Martinsville. Scott, I had a great time. I know you were kind of in and out for this one, but I have to say, it's been a blast to get to call these races, and it sounds like we've got yet more coming up over the summer.
Yes, while we have wrapped up our regular season and we've now wrapped up our Triple Crown Showdown, this is not it for Misfit. This is just the beginning. This summer, we're going to have the Misfit Touring Summer Series. So these races will happen the first Monday of every month starting in April, and that'll be, I believe, April 1st. So our first race will be at Irwindale, and we'll have that always on the first Monday of every month from April all the way until October. And after that, we have Misfit Touring Series Season 2. So this is just the beginning for Misfit, and I'm so excited for this summer series and what it's to bring.
I can't wait to see what the racing's going to be like. But before we go, I want to give a big thank you, of course, to the team today, Daniel, Scott, and Dougie, for helping us put this show on, as well as everybody who has been in all season long. It's been an absolute joy. We can't say it enough. And make sure and tune in on Monday nights when we come back for racing. But until next time, I'm Joe Peak. Race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.